fire ready. Well, I came and I saw and I conquer. Them a look and them a wonder. Tell them Barra is the answer. Good, ba 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 bang. Again, no natty flash it in a Zimbabwe from the knocking sun. No everybody love this style when me bring come knowledge and wisdom. Just tell me fi fling gun. Cause Rastafari have the key to the kingdom. Solo tribe when we spring from. So the Rasta bleach out and pour up in pong. Life is not a game. This a no ping pong. So tell them to pick up my family name it a no ching gum. Hard body, who bungs it down. Be careful of the words when you speak from your mouth. I said the red trap, but who catch the mouse? Watch out for the one them when you let in your house. Hard body, who bungs it down. Be careful of the words when you speak from your mouth. Tell them the rest like it can't stop it. We run.
And that, my friends, was a performance that we came up with to commemorate dancehall music. Jamaican culture has shaped and influenced global culture as well as regional. It has helped influence one of the largest and fastest growing music genres of today. But before I get into that story, let me ask you a question. What do you know about Jamaican culture? Think about it for a second. Things that might come to mind are Usain Bolt, the fastest man on the planet, maybe jerk chicken and Jamaican patties, and perhaps the beautiful, pristine beaches that the island has to offer. But on top of that list, for many of us, I am sure, are reggae music and Bob Marley. Reggae music is more than just a music genre. It's a cultural phenomenon. It has its influence and has helped forge and create other music genres such as dub and dubstep, hip hop, and most importantly to this region, reggaeton music. But the question is, where does the story start between reggae and reggaeton music? The story begins with the building of the Panama Canal. In the early days of the Panama Canal, the United States was looking for labor. So it went to the forgotten reigns of the British Empire. And they said, hey, let me employ people who lived in these islands. Thus, they promised them prosperity, for many of them lived in poverty. So they went to Panama and landed there. However, many of them did not get or realize the promises that they were promised by the United States. Instead, it led to many hardships. For example, can you imagine living and working in dense forests in Central America, clearing away jungle and hills and mountains, and on a daily basis seeing your colleagues and your friends being carried away, dead? They used dynamite and accidents happen, and this was regular. Can you imagine working in the Panama Canal and being exposed to wild animals such as snakes and jaguars? Can you imagine being in the early days of the Panama Canal and being exposed to regular outbreaks of yellow fever and malaria? But in 1914, these people created and finalized the construction of the Panama Canal. It is an economical gem that we all benefit from today. However, they were also creating another story. They were forging and birthing a diaspora that would change the world in a different perspective. As reggae music became popular in the 1970s and 1980s, it did so in Panama. And the children and grandchildren of these immigrants started recording music, reggae music, but in Spanish, and thus created a new subgenre of music called Reggae and Español. Unlike with all music genres, there are pioneers. Some of them are, in this case, Nando Boom, El General, Renato, and many more. Their records spread like wildfire across the region and influenced places like South America, Colombia, Central America, the Caribbean, and most importantly, Puerto Rico. But a key part to the story is New York. New York is a melting pot of different diasporas coming together, including Panamanians, Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, and so on and so forth. This created an environment for cross-collaboration between the different cultures. As dancehall and reggae was popular in New York in the 1980s, Jamaican producers sought to collaborate with other musicians from different cultures. And in fact, many of the records that we know well were created in New York. However, something significant happened. Shabba Ranks released Dembo in 1990. His record went wildfire within the region. Producers and DJs wanted to get their hands on the record. They sampled it, made additions and remixes. And this laid the foundation for the subgenre of reggaeton. In fact, over 80% of all reggaeton songs ever made were sampled from this one record. The Puerto Rican movement drew inspirations from New York, Panama, and Jamaica. It wasn't just dancehall and reggae, but they also drew inspiration from hip hop, and they merged it together. In Puerto Rico, the youth wanted to find a new sound, so they also mixed it with other things like salsa and merengue and so forth. People like DJ Playero would make mixtapes and invite artists to record on top of these records. And some of these records include Evie Queen, Daddy Yankee, Lisa M, and many more. With the connection with the diaspora, it spread beyond the borders of Puerto Rico as time went along. However, this is also a story about perseverance. The Puerto Rico government at the time wanted to suppress this new movement. They carried out raids in video stores and record labels. They used the National Guard and carried out arrests. However, they couldn't break the spirit of this movement, and eventually it went to Billboard with songs like Oye Mi Canto in the early 2000s. So why should we tell the story? This story is about perseverance and struggle. People wanting to grow and build a new beginning for their lives. Whether we're talking about people who came to Panama in the early days of the Panama Canal, or in the streets of San Juan. I think about the 5-year-old who in 15 years will go to a concert, a reggaeton concert, and scream their lungs out among their friends. I think about the 5-year-old who will become the face of this movement and move the culture forward. This is a celebration of diaspora coming together from all facets and different languages, coming to create something beautiful. So, in this moment of celebration, we've come up with a performance for you to enjoy. Thank you, and I'll see you later.
1, 2, 3, swing.
All the party man crew, Jamaican lyrics man che cantando fuori al solamente che ne spaziare. Soffro da me nada decor. Escucha lo que dice lyrics. Cale, solamente quiere pasear. Mira pum pum, nada quiere saltar. Cale, solamente quiere pasear. Para mí de popón, watch me no, hey. Estaba yo sentado en mi Toyota Corolla y de repente de una cara me comenzó a mirar. No dije nada mercy, no vamos a pasar. Mira la que se montó rápidamente sin pensar en mi labio. Me a comerla, pero yo a ver. Hey, una película de Schwarzenegger, mira la que se durmió. Y por consecuencia y de repente esa chica mira me preguntó, oye papito, ¿para cuál será el destino? Le dije, mami, quiero ir a un lugar íntimo, medio duro. Yo no quiero nada seguro. Yo soy mi abecita y tú eres muy maduro. Digo, quiere, solamente quiere pasar. posiare. Pena il pum pum nella piede saltare. Chiale, solamente chiede posiare. Para me de pum man, watch me know. Hey.